What's up, everybody? I'm Mike.
I'm Luke.
And today we are going to be telling you guys our meta predictions for OP06. Now, we know there's a ban list. What we don't know is, when's the list?
I don't know. We don't even, I mean, like, as long as, Moby Dick is concerned, right? The prediction is that they're supposed to go off at the same time, but we still don't have an English announcement.
So, the one thing I want to point out is that if you're watching this video, by the time we're ready to post it, we still don't know. If you're watching this video and the list has a confirmed date, you should check our channel because we uploaded another version of this video that we're recording right after this with our new predictions.
So somewhere around here.
Somewhere, no, well, down here. You click down here on the channel.
Down there.
Then go there. Anyway, let's get right into it. So we have our categories: regional winning, which is obviously like this deck could take the whole thing, undefeated. Top cutting. You look at top 64, you're gonna get a couple in there, at least.
At least.
Rogue, which in my opinion, what it means is, it's not that it can't top cut, but it's more dependent on the field that evolves based on player behavior. Stays at locals means you're gonna have a good time, but if your goal is to top cut, don't bring this to a regional. If your goal is to see how far you can go with your favorite deck, bring it to a regional. And then there's just downright unplayable. So, we'll just go in the order that we have here from OP01 onward.
Let's do it.
So starting with OP01 Zoro, I think this deck is top cutting.
That's top cutting for sure. Like, it still hasn't gone. Like, it's still pretty good. It's still, like, I would consider like an AB tier list, like, deck. I mean, I run it personally. Now that it's socially acceptable to run it, I run it. So.
now that I will not get flamed.
Like, relentlessly flamed. So, like, I mean, like, we've been playing since 01. Like, we've been playing since, like, super pre-release. So, I mean, the shadow of Zoro has been long and tall and sometimes wide. Now it's wide. Yeah. But, you know, I think it's still there.
I do think in a world where Sakazuki isn't around anymore, making Rob Lucci inherently harder to play with as a deck before turn 8, not counting like, oh, I just got out of grave with Moria, or I got out of grave with Rebecca and then played it on 8, right? At that point, Zoro's already doing shit.
Yeah.
So I think in that world, Navy regional winning right now, top cutting. On that point, this is, everyone from locals is gonna say bias. Everyone from locals, you can disagree with me. My opinion is that Red Green Law is top cutting only because yellow is so good this format that it can take advantage of that. Without the ban list, I think Red Green Law ain't in this shit at all. It is more in the rogue tier, unfortunately. But because of yellow only, and like the difference between rogue and this, right, is that like we know yellow's showing up. Yeah. We don't have to guess that. Yeah. And even against Sakazuki, you can have the Zoro matchup where you just rush it down, right? Yeah, yeah. So I put it barely into top cut personally. I know if you have a difference on that.
I'm gonna put it into. I mean, personally, I think it's rogue until EB.
What is the aggro deck is Red Green Luffy, which is staying at locals. staying at locals. I will put it slightly above.
I was gonna put it at eh.
No, because we have the red film cards now.
Oh,
so
that's
the
true.
red-green film Straw Hat deck is actually better now.
That's kind of pog, actually.
Right?
Wait a second.
Have you not thought about this?
No, I haven't at all. I haven't at all. Oh.
Also easy, Kozuki Oden is I mean, you know.
Pepperonis.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's unplayable. Because he's technically an aggro deck, right? Like, any deck that can just get sauced by a Zoro can get sauced by Kozuki Oden. That being said, it's doing it way worse.
I mean, the plus side is that all your cards are very cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all your cards well, you know, my Green Oden's coming out soon. Maybe they'll start climbing.
That'd be nice.
I can't wait for this. I can't wait for Kinemon set 7. Or EV, whatever it is, where I can reduce the 4-drop, sacrifice it to play a Yamato on turn 2 with double attack banish. Come on, dude. We are there.
That's pretty fire.
We are there. Speaking of there, Dakia's Doflamingo, I think is rogue, actually.
It's rogue.
I think it has some very selective card choices with its card advantage ability that can weave its way into the meta. I think especially, this is like based on like player psychology. I think with how hype he is going into OP07 and the extra booster, like just a little bit of stuff are getting there, and then OP07, I think more people are going to start play testing it now. Yeah. And we're going to see that effect come in where there's going to be like that, like, you know, 1 or 2 regionals, 1 or 2 treasure cups is going to be like 2 Dofies in blue, purple Kaido. I think this still stays at locals though, right?
It stays at locals. It's not eh.
It's not eh. It'll play a 10-drop Kaido and scare you.
Yeah, I mean, it still has like the
Which one?
From. Yeah, it did.
All 3. Which one? Which 10-drop Kaido? Can't wait for Extra Booster to come out. Till then, Croc Stan. and at locals.
Yeah.
I really want to talk about this when Ice Booster comes out, but until then, there's nothing really to talk about.
Yeah.
So we can move on. King.
Oh man, you gotta put that at Rogue. Bro. You gotta put that at Rogue. I'm the resident king.
You are the resident king. No, but in all seriousness, I feel like it's right?
It's
like we're not playing board states. It's not unplayable, but we're not playing. The problem is the format's not playing board states where 1,000 matters.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you're not fighting over board state with combat. You're fighting over board state with removal spells.
Especially with like purple. Like you're not doing that.
Yeah.
So.
No.
Yeah. It's funny, so it's Like
we keep you here because you entertain us.
Yeah.
Edward Newgate. This one I think is weird. I'm not sure if the rise of yellow decks puts us in a better place. So funny enough, I think this is Rogue. I think this is top of the Rogue. Yeah. I think like him and Law kind of switch on any given weekend. But I feel like as long as Sakazuki is still the best deck, this deck ain't doing shit.
There's gonna be
overall.
some people online who just call us Cope for putting like Whitebeard in Rogue. Are you right? Like there's like
well, it's like we're show me the Whitebeard tops.
I know.
Show me the Whitebeard tops, guys.
Dude, I mean like a lot. They didn't say they weren't unbanning Moby Dick, right? Yeah.
Anyway,
sorry.
I think Kinemon stays with the locals. You know,
Stays
I mean, it's slightly better Kozuki Oden in that it's aggressively big, but it gets no tools. Rip yellow Wano cards only.
Yeah.
Sanji is still unplayable in my opinion. Rip to the pre-release goat.
Yeah.
Ivankov, we'll talk during the extra booster, but is like
No. Magellan is, I think, Rogue.
I think Magellan stays at locals.
Really?
I think if Purple Luffy ain't doing shit, Magellan ain't doing shit.
That's
Because Purple
fair.
Luffy's the best card is the Magellan.
Yeah.
Not the 6K boost. It's the Dawn Stifling.
It's a Dawn Stifling.
Yeah. But it stays at locals.
That's good.
Yeah, it stays at locals. Zeph is a weird one for me, where I think it stays at locals.
For all those film cards, though.
You're right. I think it stays at locals, and I'm happy to put it at the top of stays at locals.
Over Red Green Luffy.
It's just playing all the good black cards.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you just get to play. Zeph gets to play Gecko Moria.
Now hold on.
Zeph gets to play Gecko Moria.
Now hold on. Call me crazy. I think this is Rogue. I think that argument alone.
You think this is Rogue?
I think that argument
because it can play Gecko Moria.
Because it can play Gecko Moria.
You know what? I think the black package. I agree.
Yeah.
We can talk about the ban list in another video, but based on my perception of what the problem is in general and how this ban list, in my opinion, are option great hit. Otherwise, doesn't get the point of what the problems are. I'll put it at the bottom of Rogue.
I think at the bottom of Rogue. The very bottom. It's at the cusp of stays at locals and Rogue.
Yeah, you know who's staying at the bottom of stays at locals though? Smoker. Smoker.
I can't even remember what that leader does.
Put a dot on it. Minus something by 1. When this ability resolves, it's at 0
Oh my God.
or 1. I think it's 0 that you get a plus 1,000.
If that Sakazuki ban goes through, who do you think is actually going to take it? Is it Lucci or is it Smoker?
If the Sakazuki ban goes through?
Yeah, in it.
When it does. It'll go through. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
I mean, Lucci is like primed, right? It has a double attack. I think there's a world where, I mean, obviously Moria's the best one. You know, old leaders, right? So Moria's number 1. And then I think it's Lucci or Rebecca. Rebecca only because it's doing something different with the black package for Moria.
Right. It doesn't really depend on that.
Yeah, whereas Lucci's kind of doing like not a worse Moria thing, it's not the same, but in terms of like what it's closer to a Moria deck than it is a Rebecca.
Yeah,
deck.
correct. Yeah.
So, Ace is at Rogue.
That's
straight
Rogue.
up.
That's Rogue. Yeah.
Talk about Cope or not, it's Rogue.
It's Rogue.
It's Rogan.
Yep.
I think the list that topped was all over the place. The one that just topped the other day. I think the core parts are in there. It just needs to be streamlined. I've been an Ace stan since day 1. Everyone knows that. I just went all in on trying to get my invite, so I went full Saka because Sakamozo is the best deck. Yep. You cannot argue that. Doesn't matter if it didn't win at Nationals, like for US or whatever you want to say.
It won at Worlds, so.
Yeah, it won at Worlds. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a discussion for the ban list because I won't shut up. But Ace is great. I think it's the most underappreciated deck. Flame Emperor, always super relevant. And as long as Flame Emperor is unbanned, as long as Fire Fist is unbanned, I think it has a place in the meta.
I don't think there's a world where they do that. I don't think there's.
No, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like it can interact on both ends. It can interact on the big end and then punish you with a double attack, or it can interact on the small end with Fire Fist. So as long as those 2 cards are still available to it, I think it's got a place.
What was that one winning list? What did they run differently than you like thought of?
They actually were running like almost exactly the list I was on.
Oh, right on.
They were at different ratios of things. The biggest thing for me was I'm on no Robins. They argued Robin because it's a Dodon deck.
Yeah.
But if it's a Dodon deck, you run the events because Dodon already searches buggy. So you just go up to your 4th buggy instead of playing 3. And then you just search for the Fire Fist event.
You don't think that Dodon would just like whiff all your events? Like just keep pushing them all down?
You can't, that's not a mindset you can play with. But the biggest thing for me that like he was on in general is that it's a small dudes deck. You're playing the dorks are getting there. It's you go wide, it's like a Zoro deck.
So it's like
you
a
go
Zoro
wide
deck, yes,
and then you have interaction pieces.
Yeah.
So.
But at least you have an auto swing tall with like.
Yeah, and you're also valuing a lot too, right? So, yeah.
Makes sense.
Kuro's staying at locals, but isn't It's, like getting above smoker.
Yeah. I mean, like, with Hody Jones, I don't know, right? Just stays at locals. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you play Hody Jones' character, and you're like, what's up? I would make a whole video on that card, I swear to God.
Oh my God, that card's bust.
Speaking of Hody Jones and all his cards, Arlong, I'm going to put Arlong at near the bottom of stays at locals now.
Yeah.
Yamato has kind of killed this dream. There's no reason to play this card instead of just playing the Yamato deck.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's just better Yamato.
Nami goes in top cutting. I think it's actually above Zoro, in my opinion.
I agree.
I think this changes with the ban list, obviously. I think right now, going into the way the decks are going to play, it is not. The Sakazuki value doesn't really matter. The Sakazuki having small things to swing is kind of relevant, but at the end of the day, you just gotta make sure you don't tap out and you have at least one open.
Yeah. You're playing your own game, you don't really care about anything, so as long as like you remain as the most uninteractive deck, right? Like, then you know your numbers, you know your math, you know that your math is only about to run out. So I wouldn't call it regional winning, right? Like that deck relies on like the variance of it being like hitting every single time.
Yeah, and the reason Sokka's such a good deck is because it cuts down as much variance as possible. So that's like that's the difference between like a regional winning deck and like a top cutting deck, right?
Yeah.
Is that like it doesn't have an inherent weakness, but where it doesn't have an inherent weakness, it also doesn't have a lot of control over how it does in the end of the day because you're pretty streamlined in your decision making. There's obviously games where you're not, but inherently you should get to the point where you're so good with it and you know the math so well that it feels like that. Iceberg, Rip the Dream, stays at locals.
Oh man, dude, like okay.
I'm putting him
remember when we were all coping about that? Like we were all like, oh,
I
Iceberg,
think
no,
listen,
Iceberg,
I played it a lot because my goal, for those who don't know, was I was gonna play it at locals, the last locals before nationals, and be like, all right, if you didn't beat me, you shouldn't, because there's a lot of people who got in through the lotto, and not everyone was like this, but a lot of people think they got a lotto entry to nationals, and they're like, yeah, I'm tough shit, dude. I know everything. Like people who are the nicest, most like regular people suddenly start acting like the biggest spikes in the world with zero experience. So like my goal was to like just show up and be like, hey, if I beat you, you should really think about what you're doing in 3 days. Like Rob Lucci staying at locals, kind of talked about it. We don't really need to do much more.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter for a lot.
I think it's better.
These three orders matter at the top. These ones less so. Big Mom.
Oh, this is so cope. No.
Top of
stay local.
top
Stay
of
local. Okay,
really?
fine. I think it's stay locals because it still has access to 10 cost mom and has access to Borsellino. Those two alone.
Yeah, it gets to play on one drop, like kill anything in the deck. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you know, you're right. That was me trying to meme on you more. Katakuri is a regional winning deck now. Big Mom, 10.
We're so back. We're so back.
Against Moria, the whole thing is like you just gotta get the 10. And all the decks are so slow, especially against like Sokka. It's like they have more dorks to play now, which is why it still can win so often against it. But otherwise, just like I just won't give you things to interact with profitably, and we'll just keep swinging on you, and then I'll play a 10 mom.
Yep.
So
that's it. As long the minute we get the 10 done, it's over. It's
plus triggers, like it's just, and I'm swinging for 7. Like I'm swinging for 7 every turn on you.
Everything in the middle of the game just doesn't matter. Like as a Katakuri player, you're just like, I don't actually care.
The best cards like Borsellino and Sabo, like no cap, like are the best cards. Because they let you not just lose all your life and then also have attackers.
Yeah, that's
so true, yeah. Vivi goes to I just want to try to get through a lot of these because we have a lot of chump.
I just feel like it's unplayable, but like sure.
I mean, I think the Sentamaru version, like the Pacifista version, is like.
Oh, that's true.
Like, you can do shit with that at locals. You can do steal games. Green Bubble Luffy is staying at locals. Rip to the goat. Issho. I think this card's unplayable.
That's unplayable.
Which is crazy because it has black in it.
Yeah.
Which it feels weird to say that. But I think putting it is only because of the black cards. It has nothing to do with the leader. I think the leader itself is unplayable, so I'm gonna put it at the bottom.
Yep.
I think Rebecca stays on locals. Again, we'll talk about that more
Argument for
with the
like
ban list.
Rogue, maybe.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think as long as Sokka isn't, it can't be Rogue. So this is an argument for
Yes.
win the ban
Right.
list.
Right.
I think Queen actually goes in the Rogue category now.
it goes in the Rogue,
I think we're back. I think we're super back on all the life game shenanigans. The good news is, you don't care about the early game as much. You can just not play your blockers early game into the Sakazuki and be like, neat, I'll keep swinging. And then I'll just counter out so my hand size goes down, right? But there is a lot of aggression that can just take it down. I think in the Katakuri matchup, it just gets folded.
Yeah.
You just can't keep up with that level of life interaction. The fact that it's life swinging one each way instead of just gaining one.
I think any match where it's like also doing the same exact thing where we're waiting for like 10 Dawn plays, right? Like it's probably going to inherently lose because other leaders in regional winning or top cut are going to do it better.
Exactly. But then there's going to be the one regional or treasure cup, right?
Yeah.
Where the dude just always on the first time he plays his 9-drop, just plays a Sanji and flips like a Mihawk or some shit, whatever he's gonna play, right?
And
That's gonna happen,
Yeah.
and then we're just gonna do that all day and just get there. So Rogue, I think it's at the bottom of Rogue. I think it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle.
I think it's definitely higher than those two. So.
Yeah. Croc Sabo locals.
Yep.
Sabo, my championship undefeated 4-0 Sabo.
So salty
I submitted it to One Piece top decks. If it's up yet, pull it up.
Oh my god. I don't want to see that list. That was disgusting, actually. You can go ahead. You can go ahead and tell them what.
So I played Sabo. I looked at a lot of the Japanese decks and the English decks. I put together what I liked and what I thought was the most appropriate parts of Red that are the most defining of Red right now. And I just leveraged the fact that my opponents did not know how this card works, and the only opponent that did in their trigger deck saw no triggers till the end of the game. So I kind of luck sacked that one because I'm also not drawing well. But every other matchup, and I played Udo, which is like a really bad matchup for the deck, just still slid through. Yeah, we love it. We love it. Sabo the King,
So annoying.
anyway, is unplayable. I'm not gonna cope, dude. I'm not gonna cope. Why would I play this? If we're putting Issho in unplayable, we have to put Sabo in unplayable because it has black. It still can't do shit.
Yeah.
Bello Betty stays at locals.
Stays at locals.
I mean, the problem with Bello Betty is that like your opponent actually gets a lot of say in how good the deck performs because it needs to abuse life triggers. That's like the whole point. So your opponent can just say nah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, though, it is an aggro deck. It just does aggro things, and it will just get there.
It unintentionally gets hit by the rejection ban list.
Just not say it's unplayable. P Luffy, I think, is in Rogue. I think it's somewhere in this middle here. It'll just steal an event. It'll still just show up. People love this deck.
Yeah.
Deck is objectively good.
So autoplay. It's like as autoplay as Zoro in my opinion.
But on the bottom deck game that Saka's on, and especially with Katakuri back, I think that's the bigger problem. Yamato, I think, could also just rush it down too fast.
Yeah.
So yeah. Enel, I think it's dropped down to like the top of top cutting. It's kind of still like the litmus test deck. You have to beat it if like consistently if you want to be able to win the regional.
Yeah.
If you care about picking the best optimized decks. However, I think just everything Katakuri is doing is better.
Yeah.
And I think everything Yamato is doing is better. I'm sure there's a version of this Enel deck where it's like Enel, the Wano triggers, right? And you're just playing the Yamato matchup, but you're playing where it's harder to kill me back.
Yeah.
I'm sure that could potentially take over because it's NA and people love way more aggressive decks here than we're seeing it like win a bunch of regionals. But I think at least the way that people are playing NL now, the way the deck's understood, and in my opinion, just the access of tools that Kata gets are just so much better, where I think it would be a disservice to put them both in the top deck section when I'm saying Kata still can't even like consistently beat Sokka, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree. And like, I mean, it's still king of top cut.
Yeah, I mean, you're the all-in yellow player. I mean, if any, you know, like.
Yeah.
It's cockroach.
I like just, you know, yeah, cockroach for sure.
Yeah, it just doesn't die. Like,
yeah. I mean, like, it's just so. God, I didn't play yellow this set because of this deck because I was just like, this plays like a rat, and I don't like playing that way. But like, but then again, I wait for like 10 cost Big Mom, so like, I don't know.
I mean, you could have played the control version.
Right. Yeah. Right. But yeah, I mean, it's still gonna stay there. It's still gonna stay in as like a top cut king, in my opinion. I think that's gonna be. Here's my crazy prediction. I think it's gonna be the top of top cut.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. Before we get to the 06 leaders, we're going to go to the starters because they're organized this way.
Yeah.
And also for the 06 leaders, we do have guides on how to play and get started with the 06 leaders. Not like necessarily a competitive guide, but like here are the basic cool things with it. If you're interested in learning about any of them, go check it out on the channel. They'll be coming out in the following weeks. So if you don't see the one yet you want, it's coming out.
Yeah.
Red Uta, unplayable. Just worse.
I put it on eh.
No, it's bad.
Really?
It needs vanillas.
Do we get any film vanillas?
I think I might get one.
Like
I don't know.
I don't know.
Like, but, I mean, still a queen in limited. I'll still play it in limited every now and again. But
yeah, I will
I'm
play
not
that.
playing it
I'll
in
play that on
constructed.
pre-release.
Blue Luffy, I think, is like top of stays at locals, bottom of rogue potentially. Like, I'm gonna put it at top of stays at locals right now.
Hold on. What does it do again? Dawn Attach 1.
Dawn Attach 1 when it attacks. If you have 3 less cards in hand, draw 1, or even less than 3 cards in hand, draw 1. Is this a draw engine? 5 life.
Yeah.
It's like there's not a blue tools yet. I think again after EB, after set 7, we can reevaluate this. But I think it can do stuff, like, it's cool. The red Luffy, I think, stays at locals, but like at the bottom. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm kind of not even thinking about this anymore. It's kind of a mess.
Yeah, I agree.
Eustace Captain Mid is in the rogue tier because it's a green deck. Yeah. I mean, it's like...
Still runs film package, still has like, it just does something different than the other film does. So.
Yeah, I mean, it could just kill you. I don't know why anyone would register this deck for a major event, in my opinion. But I do think that there is a world where this deck, top 64 is a major event.
Yeah, I mean, there's a world where the one tricks just like... have always been like somebody's.
I mean,
right
Hody Jones,
right?
like Hody Jones, just makes every green deck like viable now, in my opinion. Again, I'm probably gonna make a whole video on Hody Jones. Blue Croc, I think again is in the same category. I think it's above Kid,
rogue,
just rogue.
Yep.
Purple Kaido stays in the locals, love it. Stays in the locals. Shanks unplayable. Yeah, cool. We're on that. Black Sakazuki unplayable. I can't wait to put Black Sakazuki on air.
Yeah, because
actually, I'm putting it on air. It's about to be better than the other Sakazuki.
Put it
so
on
I'm putting it on
preemptively.
Yeah,
I mean, I know like we
preemptive air.
I feel like we've been going through it like like the whole time, like, oh yeah, with that in mind, with Sakazuki like ban list in mind for the other video, but like no, that stays in air.
This card's like actually like does something. It's inherent removal. We have a lot of minuses now. We're all good.
You put her on stays at locals. You put her on stays at locals.
Yeah, no, she stays at locals. Like, it's like manipulation. You get to just put a Thunderbolt. You get to put an Onami just on top of your deck.
I'll just say it. She's rogue. I'll just say
like,
it.
yeah, you can just play like 4 Thunderbolts, 4 Onamis, and just stack them on your life and just be chilling, Black Luffy stays at locals. Yellow Yamato goes down to because like it's just so much worse than the new one.
Yeah.
Red Purple Law is I think a top cutting deck. I think it's like probably like
oh my god
somewhere in here.
The
EB makes it so much better, but having the blocker alone and having the Reiju alone, I think is like we're in there.
Makes it
Chef's kits.
Yeah. I think with the inclusion
guy
of EB,
here.
it becomes regional winning.
Yeah. I think it just shores up. I think the Killer and Kid is a huge play for them. I think Red Purple Luffy, for the same reason Purple Luffy actually drops into Rogue.
Yeah.
And out of top cutting. I think
just so high
rolly.
Enough. It's just so high rolly.
Yeah.
Like the whole entire deck feels like Exodia, right? Like you just gotta like you gotta have those cards.
You gotta have all 5
sequencing.
pieces, baby.
Yeah,
and the little D in the center of your binder.
That's what the D in Monkey D movie stands for.
Little D.
Little D.
It's Dawn, by the way. It's Dawn. I've been in the Dawn camp. I've been in 2 camps for years.
Yeah.
I've been in the D stands for Dawn, and that Skypiea is the most underrated arc of all time. And now, in the last 3 years, everyone's been like, I always loved Skypiea. You motherfuckers never loved Skypiea. Yeah, it's a little bit long, but the content is so good.
I love.
And you'll be like, it's Devil. No, it's Dawn. It's Dawn.
April, my girlfriend, has recently gone back and read Skypiea, and she's like, oh my god, I love Skypiea. Skypiea is the best. And I'm like, that's great. That's an opinion nobody shares.
I loved it the moment I got there, because as a narrative-focused person, I just could see like the seeds being planted at the time, and I also love like medieval warfare and stuff like that. So like that kind of does stuff for me as well.
I just felt indifferent about Skypiea until the Enel card came out. Now I fucking hate Skypiea. Skypiea sucks.
Wow.
I hate Enel.
Unplayable.
Unplayable.
Green Uta, I think is rogue. Probably goes like somewhere around the Luffy area.
Yeah.
Around here.
It goes around. Yeah, definitely better than Kid because of the consistency.
I think there's a world where it's top cutting. Simply because of like Hody Jones exists.
Yeah.
I'm down for Rogue. I think that's a fair place to put it.
Even put it at the top of Rogue, or like at least top 3 of Rogue.
Oh yeah. I'm willing to put
Queen.
it like under Whitebeard above Ace.
Yeah, okay.
Just because of Hody Jones.
Hody Jones is too good.
You know what I'm also gonna do? I'm gonna put Queen above Ace. I think Queen's better than Ace.
That's
though.
awfully
I'm
big
looking
of
at this
you.
now.
Yeah.
I think Queen's better than Ace.
I think that's awfully big.
What do you think about the new Zoro and Sanji, which we'll have a full review video
This
for?
is the one that I like literally have done zero research on. So actually, what does it do?
One dawn, when attacking once per turn, you may return one of your... Okay, so I thought it was 3, so I was going to be wrong. You may return one of your characters with a cost of 2 or more to the owner's hand. Set up to one of your characters with 7,000 power or less is active.
Okay.
4 life, dual color leader.
I don't know. I think it's
I
feel like it's
I think it stays at locals. I think it has like shenanigans. It has blue bottom decking, and then it has like green just like swinging. And you get to like play like a lot of your value engine cards. Like I'm not saying you play Wano, but like you can play like a Momonosuke, get value out of it, put it back to your hand. You can like play Neko no Mushi, which I don't think is a good card right now, as an example, or Izo, which is a better one, right?
Oh, you know
play
what I
it and
heard?
get it back to your hand, right?
I heard that the Weevil's mom like
That deck just topped with this leader,
Yeah, with that leader, right?
So yeah.
Okay, no longer
I think I think for 06 it's like stays at locals.
Yeah,
right. And I think we expand based on there. Now for the reason people are all here, we have the 06 leaders. Woo!
Yeah.
Okay. So starting with red purple
My
Uta.
girl, no, my
you
girl.
know, which is basically if you liked playing this, please just play red purple law for the love of God.
They massacred
I
my
think it stays
girl.
at locals. It has ramp. Like it has
yes.
ramp, and it can fight down on board. Which again, we're talking about fighting on board with combat.
It's just so difficult to play against everything else. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's
Just
a
red
4 life
purple does it
leader.
better.
It's a ramp deck that's trying to play on 4 life. Like, but it's a ramp deck. It can swing down on board. Again, not the most important thing, but it can do it itself. I think it stays at locals. I think you're gonna, I mean, you can ramp it to a purple Luffy. You can ramp it to 10 drop Shanks. You can ramp it to cards that aren't even 10 drops. So yeah, I think is whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
How'd Sakaboso get in? Hold on, we didn't even do Sakaboso. Okay, anyway, Hody Jones.
Yeah.
I think stays at locals.
Stays on locals.
Yeah. I think everything cool it does, the Yamato deck or a Kid deck with its stuff, or Uta deck with its
or
stuff.
its
doesn't matter.
single card does.
Yeah. You're going. I don't even like you.
yeah,
I just hate this guy. He's one of the worst
This
villains.
like actually sucks.
He actually is the worst. Perona is a regional winning deck. Man, this deck, I just can't wait because Perona is going to create such a good meta triangle similar to OP01 of like there's a top triangle and a bottom triangle and they overlap, and then like deck A beats deck B, B beats C, C beats A in both of those triangles, and then they kind of like mesh into each other and congeal within the top cut.
Yep.
I can't wait. We'll talk about it in our video.
Yeah.
But all the best cards in black.
Yep.
Gets the minus stuff 1, just like Sakazuki.
It gets green.
It gets to rest stuff, so you have to have 2. It has built-in 2 million volts Amaru, and it uses that to pop stuff with good green bodies.
Yep.
Whereas Sokka most of the time is removing stuff with event cards. So it gets to add to the board while removing.
Now, remind me, does this one also play Hody Jones? No, it doesn't, right?
It can.
Goes to go get
It can.
right?
The ones I've been playing haven't played it. But you can totally play Hody Jones. If you're a green deck, you can play Hody Jones.
You can play Hody Jones.
Yeah, you can play Hody Jones if you're a green deck.
Cram it in there like Gecko Moore. You just
it just depends like how much of a control deck you want to be versus more of a like Hody is like on the tempo end. I personally play Perona to be way more control, and then when you respect my control too much, I'm smashing your face, right? But definitely, you can play it with Hody. If it's green, you can play it with Hody.
Right.
Yamato is going to be a regional winning deck. I think, depending on so let's say the ban list doesn't come out until after 6 is done, right? For US. The longer the format goes on, the less of a winning deck this deck's going to become.
Yeah.
I think at the start this will be a winning deck. Potentially, I think it'll just steal an event at some point. Actually, based on all this, I'm actually putting top cutting.
I think
it will steal an event based on variance. Then I think when Sokka's out, I think there's a discussion on top cut on whether or not that level of aggression or even the fortress mode is a regional winning deck. But I think it's like kind of just trying to dunk on a bit.
Yeah.
But it's a little too short.
It
the dog,
still feels
so it's not
like
top cutting.
it's a scrub check, right? Like it feels like Bello Betty in that it's a scrub check.
Yeah.
But then like the thing is, it has access to all these really really good things that make it more than the scrub check is.
Yeah, it's like it scrub checks like 2 ways, right? It scrub checks off just like, oh, I'm gonna aggro you with triggers.
Yeah.
Or it scrub checks with like, hey, do you know how to beat an 8-drop kid?
Yeah.
Or like and then play around the Dofi. Like so it's like 2 different kinds.
Yeah.
Reiju is an interesting one. I think this is a top cutting deck. This is the deck I have the least experience playing. I have a lot of experience playing into it. I still haven't like play tested it a lot personally.
Yeah.
It just doesn't interest me as much.
I'm gonna echo something that like a couple people in our Discord.
No,
have said.
please.
Like where like Reiju feels like the most balanced of them all. right? It just feels like a very balanced deck in which it plays in its own like little circle and its own little loop, right? And if you know how the loop works, then you know how to dismantle it, right? You know what to get rid of.
If you know how to look out for the ECG.
Exactly, right? So like in that way, I think it is like one of the more fair decks of this format. It is very consistent because of that too. So I really actually do think it's like in Top Cut at least.
I think my problems for it are twofold. Yellow with triggers and then life gain can get around the pressure.
Right.
Also, a lot of I think the big things, EG is a 7, but the rest are like 5s, right? So the Thunderbolt and Onami targets.
Yeah.
And then the other problem is that like Sakazuki bottom decking the big things is actually bad for them. Obviously, they usually wheel so many cards that they'll find the extra copies.
Right.
But especially ones on board, they're trying like double HG or double Reiju or whatever. The fact that Saka's going to bottom deck them because of the problem. So I think this is top cutting. It might be above Yamato. The more I think about it, I think this is above Yamato in top cutting. But I think the problem is it's like a Bello, right?
Yeah.
If you just look out for the one thing, you should be able to win. But if you stumble a little bit, it will take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But I think the difference is it's not as much up to the controller of the deck as you want it to be similar to Bello.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the NA implementation onto this deck because like we said, like NA.
The waifu decks.
Yeah.
The waifu buffs.
No,
The waifu buff.
the waifu buffs in NA.
Yeah.
We'll find the cookers like.
I'm also gonna switch this. I think Nami is better than this Enel.
Yeah.
Just because of Kata. I mean, I think 1-on-1 this deck's better, right?
Right.
Into a field. But I think there's more reason to run Nami. For more people, for the reasons you want to run now, you just upgrade the cat.
Yeah.
So I think Nami goes up because of that.
Just to finish the thought with Reiju, I think the cookers are gonna find like a way to finish like cooking that, and they're gonna bake it.
I mean, listen, it's a Reanimator deck. It's got tons of value. I love Reanimator decks. I played a lot of them back at Magic. But I think that the biggest problem is similar to, like, I'm not saying it's the same power level, but Iceberg and P Luffy, where preset 6, the value of bottom decking, the value of interacting on 5s, was a little more tighter, a little less consistent, and now the 5 and ups are just so good. That being said, this deck can be a struggle for a Saka player, just based on card variance alone, because it will just aggro you down, especially with the ECGs. But I don't think overall it's that big of a deal. I think as long as you watch out for the follow-up judge, once you get them to a certain point, you're good. But sometimes you get the games where you just got to burn all your interaction, and you can't. If they have it, they have it. So. I think top cutting. I think it's like neck and neck with Yamato. Just depends.
Yeah.
Moria is a regional winning deck.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think in a format where we don't have the Japanese data, I would put this above Cat. But I think because people know the Japanese data and Saka now has like the proper tools interaction list to deal with the Moria, I think it's a little bump down. I think the Kata is fine with it. I think that it has like a little bit of a rough Perona match because it's removing their bodies and then playing big bodies and you can't even hit them as easily with removal. So I think it's like the third best. I think like it's Saka's number 1, Kata's number 2 by like a whole point, and then Moria's like half a point under Kata, and Perona's like right there at the same level. Yeah. Like if Saka's a 10, Kata's a 9.5, Moria's a 9, and Perona's a 9. Yeah.
That makes sense to me. I mean, like, especially like I've been playing that matchup a lot. I've been playing the Gecko Moria Katakuri matchup a lot. It feels like the minute they resolve Absalom, it's kind of it's like a struggle. It's a huge struggle, like, as a yellow player to just be like, okay, well, now I really just have to hope for, like, Sanji triggers. So, yeah, I guess that's the list.
That's the list.
That's the list.
If you guys, again, if this is out, it means we released this because the ban list didn't have an official date for US that mattered before the format was about to start. If you now know about a ban list having a date in the US, you can go find another video on our channel. It'll be released basically immediately because we pre-shot it. We're shooting it right after this. But if not, these are predictions. We're going to check in with you guys in a few weeks and see how close we were to this list.
Yeah.
And I, for one, think we nailed it.
I think we did. I'm pretty
and if we didn't nail it, that's going to be a great edit to start the next one.
Oh, shit!
If you guys have any thoughts, make sure to leave them in the comments down below. Subscribe for more great content, and we'll see you on the next one.
Please do.